how's it going? Welcome to SMG Viewers Comments, episode 171. Got Halloween coming up this weekend. Hope you're going to have an amazing time. Let's get right to it.
Hey Glenn, I've been debating this with a lot of people and wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you think classic rock is better or current rock is better? Cheers from Virginia.
Well, I think there's a pretty simple answer to that question. Go put on Queen, the Prophet song, and then go put on Nickelback. In all fairness, I think we're getting a little too lazy with our productions. I don't think we're pushing the musicians nearly hard enough like we used to. I had a big discussion at AES Canada a couple weeks ago about that. I got to sit down with a bunch of award-winning engineers and they all got super pissed off at me because I said, hey, you guys are too busy loading up your records with bullshit and not pushing the artists enough. And I got a big round of applause from that and a whole lot of death stares from all these award-winning engineers. A couple of the guys were really cool about it and a couple of guys weren't too happy with me, that's for sure. But hey, you know what? Truth fucking hurts. Again, I go back to and listen to like masterpieces like Queen's Night at the Opera, you know, first four Zeppelin albums, you know, some of the early pre-stuff. A lot of the pre-stuff anyway, but that's more metal. But if you're talking rock and classic rock, yeah, there was some truly incredible stuff. I mean, like you look at what the Beatles did in 7 years, fucking unreal. And they were pushing technology to the breaking point to be able to, you know, get their ideas across the speakers. These days, it's just become all too easy to take a mediocre performance and make it passable. And like I said, I've maintained this philosophy since day one is the great music happens when you push musicians to their breaking point. And that's not happening anymore. We're letting computers do all the heavy lifting. And that's why music is pretty goddamn boring these days. That's another thing you've got to take into account. Attention spans have just plummeted. From what they used to be before, you know, buying an album was an investment. You'd only have so much money. These days, you know, music's kind of a throwaway commodity, and I think that's a real shame. And I really wonder, and I'm going to put this question to you guys. How many of you guys actually listen to entire records anymore, like front to back? I'd like to know. Please leave a comment below. Let's hear from you guys.
How to avoid sounding sterile when recording guitar.
Wow, you guys are just killing it with the questions this week. This is awesome. This comes out of a conversation I had with Warren Hewitt, producer and engineer of such bands like Ace Frehley and Aerosmith. He engineered them. Anyway, he had a great point. Is like you take, say, like an old AC/DC record or something like that, throw it on, and then you listen to, say, the modern comparison with, you know, all the super, you know, saturated guitars and these perfect amps and whatnot, and they just sound kind of flat in comparison. They sound kind of small. Here's a good one. Bad Company. You listen to the original song Bad Company by the group Bad Company, and there was a cover that came out a few years ago. I forget who the hell did it, but you know, the guitars were very small sounding in comparison to the originals. Like the original ones, it's just when they come in with that tom fill, da da da, you know that amp's cranked up to about just to the absolute breaking point, and it just sounds cool. It's not the most polished tone, and that's what works. And I was having this discussion with the Yeehaw guys the other day. You're going to see them on the show pretty soon if you haven't already. And that's modern amps really sound compressed in comparison. And a lot of the really amazing tones we got to hear on the 70s and 80s records were, you know, with plexis. And they were trying to get more distortion out of them than they could actually produce, so they'd put all these pedals in front and all this kind of stuff. But a plexi pushed to the breaking point sounds great, whereas a modern amp can sound a little bit small in comparison. So back to your original question. Turn the gain down. Let the tones through. You'll stop sounding quite so sterile. Try that, see how that works. That and crank the piss out of your amp. Just for clarification, I'm not saying all modern records sound small. Anything but. You go put on like In Flames' Clayman, that sounds huge. You go put on, you know, the Black Album, again, sounds huge. But you have to be sparing with the amount of gain you put on because it makes the guitars smaller.
Unfortunately, bass players are people too. Needs to be on a shirt.
Ask and you shall receive. You guys keep coming up with amazing shirt ideas from stuff I say. Anyway, here we go. This week and this week only, get yourself, unfortunately, bass players are people too shirt. It's only going to be available till next Friday, so if you want one, get it while you can. Anyway, next question.
Glenn, the heavier rhythm parts I mix sound great on active monitors, Yamaha HS7, but are a fizzy mess without any body through laptop/phone speakers. Does it lack mids or am I missing something else?
Well, you need to take into account that laptop and phone speakers sound like shit and have no body on them to speak of. Here, because they simply don't have the physical size needed to produce the low frequency waveforms. It's just a physical impossibility. So don't worry about it too much. Stop listening to your own music. Go put up a mix from somebody else and compare it on those crappy little speakers, and chances are the mix you really enjoy probably sounds like shit on those speakers too.
Hey Glenn, I have a question for you that has always puzzled me about music recording. I've heard it said that the drums are the first thing to get recorded, then everything else. Is that true? Now, for the part that always puzzled me, what if you have a drummer or an entire band, for that matter, that cannot read music? I mean, I get it if they rehearse their songs, but it seems impossible to play each part individually without reading the music. I guess the guitars get to hear the drums, but what about the non-reading music drummer? How does he play a song as it should be played?
Okay, spoiler alert. I have, in 20 years, I've had maybe one or two guys who could come in and sight read music. So that's pretty rare these days. I mean, like, a lot of guitar players can read tablature, but for when it actually comes to reading proper charts in rock and metal, it pretty much doesn't happen. And if it does, it's pretty damn rare. Here's the process I go through when I'm working with a band and we want to do drums first. What they'll probably do is make up what are called scratch tracks ahead of time, and they'll have like a tempo map and maybe a guitar player playing to a click along this, and he maps the song out, and the drummer comes in and records to that. Another common tool being used is something called Guitar Pro, where things will be written out in tablature and they can make the chords and the parts up and all that kind of stuff. And it's not quite, the traditional sheet music, but it really works. And all the stuff's played back in MIDI. Again, that's a file the drummer can practice to at home, come into the studio and play the drums to. And if you haven't tried doing it that way, I highly recommend doing it. It will save you a ton of time in the studio from dicking around, and will save you a bloody fortune in the long run. It's a great way to work.
Hey Glenn, love your stuff. What's your opinion on using flat response studio headphones for mixing when I can't get the cheap fiber stuff for acoustically treating my bedroom? Should I still save up to get acoustically treat my room? Cheers and greetings from Suriname.
Wow, somebody from Suriname. Last week we had someone from Pakistan. Now this is, I think, my first commenter from Suriname. Thank you so much for watching the show. I welcome everybody from across the world. It's so cool to hear from you guys from all over the place. I think that's simply fantastic. To answer your question, I think I'm going to do an episode or two on cheap do-it-yourself acoustic treatment, how you can make your own for cheap out of common household materials, and how you can do it without altering your walls if that's the problem. If you're not allowed to stick things on your walls or anything, there are ways to treat your room. So the answer I always come back to is yes, you want to treat your room instead of mix on headphones, because headphones can lie. There's some cool stuff in the works behind the scenes right now I can't really discuss in terms of digital processing, and we might get to see realistic headphone mixes at some point. But in the meantime, yes, I highly recommend treating your room. And like I said, watch for an episode on that coming up real soon, because I'm sure you're not the only guy in that situation. And I think that episode's going to do a lot of people a lot of good. Thanks for asking.
Huge fan of the channel from Mormonland, TM. I try my best to replace my bass strings every 6 months. How do I convince my fellow useless cunts to do the same?
You can make them watch this video and I'll give you a little quote. Hey asshole! Change your fucking strings! There, hopefully that helps. Yeah, 6 months is probably the maximum, and you want to be pushing it if you're playing in metal bands and you're playing regularly. 6 months would probably be pretty old, to be honest with you, but at least you're changing them out a little bit. By the way, so sorry to hear you're living in Mormon land, especially after all that Mormon League stuff coming out. Yeah, it's so nice to know they're practicing what they preach.
Which is the better drum sim? I have an E-kit, as I can't have a real drum in my home studio.
Once again, I highly doubt you're the only person in this situation. I haven't done much stuff on drum sims or anything like that. Maybe I should. Again, I put the question to you guys. Would you like to see me try out some different drum recording software or, drum replacement software, that kind of thing? Maybe I should, because this is probably a whole section of home recording that I really haven't processed or touched in any stretch of the imagination, because I've been, so anti-drum samples. I understand, though, a lot of you guys are in a situation where real drums just aren't going to happen. I think the BFD stuff's pretty neat. You can do a lot of realistic programming on that. As for actually plugging stuff into an E-kit, I don't know, the Slate stuff, maybe? I want to hear from you guys. Maybe this is something we should explore.
Hey Glenn, greetings from Virginia. I've been watching your channel for years and haven't posted a comment till now because while thoroughly entertaining and close to home your content hits, I've just been content to sit back and laugh and just enjoy. That is until I heard the story of your high school friend who wouldn't play on any guitar but his. I think that quote was, "I'm either recording with this guitar or I'm not recording." I had to speak up. What a dickbag. What an absolutely closed-minded, slack-jawed, mouth-breathing, open-maw, eagerly awaiting 1,000 cocks approach to getting your music to the world. I've been playing music for more than 2 decades, but I learned very early on that I know how to play. I don't know how to record myself. Why else would I pay someone else to do it for me? Maybe because they fucking know goddamn well better than I whether or not I should probably use another guitar because mine is garbage. Jeez, people amaze me. Thanks for everything you do. Please keep the content flowing.
Wow, that was a hell of a post, Jackson. All right, I'll fill in a few more details from there, from that particular recording. Okay, not only did that guitar player not play with a much better guitar, he insisted on playing an absolute piece of shit, which we had to try and fix. That took a few hours. Yeah, love how they waste studio time. This is another reason why I don't charge flat rates anymore, because I was back then and I should have fucking known better. That guitar player, once the project was completed, tried to pay me with a Canadian Tire gift card. Yeah, instead of money. So that was nice too. So I had to explain to him, no, I'm actually trying to make a living here. Anyway, the situation with that guitar player is, and I'll give credit where credit's due, he was always a better guitar player than me. Always. Since the day I know him, he was a very good guitar player. And I know he was in a situation where he had a couple of his guitars stolen from quote unquote friends, or the circle that he was hanging out with and or people he knew, that kind of thing. A couple of his nice guitars vanished. And I don't know, maybe he'd become so attached to this guitar, there was some kind of emotional thing there. So in his defense, I can see why maybe he wanted to use that. But then again, maybe he was trying to build up some kind of mystique or legend because he had read too many guitar magazines back then and thought there was some kind of special attachment going on. Who the hell knows what's going on in the mind of musicians? Suffice it to say, we did the record with the shit guitar and somehow we managed to pull it off, but it sure made my life difficult. You guys out there starting home studios, just wait till you get to deal with that kind of shit. It's oh so much fun.
Killer stuff. I love how Glenn always gives this stuff away. You shouldn't destroy shitty practice amps. Give them to a kid. Is how always said by people who don't know how much great gear he gives away.
Thanks, Julia. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to make this clear. In case you guys haven't seen it, I have a new series on Saturdays called I've Got Too Much Gear, and I'm going to be giving away a ton of stuff, including guitars and some other rack mount gear and just stuff that I'm kind of tripping over in here that I need to get rid of because it's a small studio and I've got too much gear and not enough space. And so make sure you watch on Saturdays where I'll show you guys how you can sign up and win some stuff. Congratulations to the guys who won in the first episode, all the monitor pads and whatnot. That was a very cool thing. Anyway, next question.
The chances you'll get fucked buying stuff online are inversely proportional to the chances you'll get fucked online dating.
Well, I don't know how true that is. I know some guys who do incredibly well with online dating. Sorry about your luck there, pal.
Glenn would make a terrifyingly good televangelist.
Of course, you're speaking about the Nice Guy Glenn episode I did a few weeks ago. That did come to mind once in a while, and the only reason I have not become a preacher is because I've got too much of a conscience and I just can't get up in front of a group of people who lie to them about all the awesome thing that's going to happen to them after they die. Something you've got no way in hell of proving one way or the other. Yes, I'm going to get up there and sell you guys a cure to a problem that doesn't exist. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. It's against my own personal ethics. So you guys should be thankful that I never ever did become a preacher because, like I said, it just would have been a horribly evil thing for me to do.
What do you think is the best home recording interface in the sub $1,000 range?
Well, I think the Audient ID44 is pretty wicked. The Focusrite stuff's pretty good. There is a lot of great stuff in the sub $1,000 range in terms of home recording. Yeah, you really can't go wrong. You really didn't say how many inputs and outputs and all that kind of stuff. The absolute best home recording interface in the sub $1,000 range, though, the absolute best is probably the RME Babyface. It's only a couple of inputs and outputs. but it's got the most stellar signal path, and it's got the amazing total mix effects, and it's just freaking great. Maybe the Universal Audio stuff as well. I haven't really had a chance to play with the Apollo or the Twin or any of that. If you guys want to see Universal Audio on the show, leave a comment below and I can take those comments to them and maybe we can finally do something together, because I'd love to check that stuff out and I'm sure you guys would like my opinion on it too. I hope you would anyway. Again, leave a comment below. Let me know.
Hey Glenn, have you noticed the hypocrisy on YouTube? There are like 3 recent ads that I've heard swear words in. Funny that content creators are demonetized for that while the ads are allowed to say them now. Cheers and fuck you, Glenn.
I've never seen an ad where somebody swore in it, but it really wouldn't surprise me. Like other YouTubers will take ads out and yeah, you know what? I should really try taking an ad out on some other channels and say fuck once or twice and just see what happens. But interesting point. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. Thanks for the tip.
Why are you all of a sudden using Waves products? You said you don't want to use them from Waves because of the way they run their company.
You know, that's a great question, and I brought it up because I think it deserves an answer. Here's the thing. 3 years ago, I did something called You Deserve Better, DRM Sucks. I think that was the title. Anyway, yeah, Waves was a pretty big target. They've kind of got their shit together when it comes to the software authorization end of things. It's a little bit better option than they were using a few years ago. And here's the thing. If I don't change my position when new evidence is presented, that just makes me a fanatic. That doesn't make me well informed. And I had a chance to talk with them at NAMM a couple times in AES, and they seem like a good bunch of dudes. I know Yo Tom, the one of the programmers there, who's doing the PRS amp sim. You know, he's super excited about what's going on. I think it's a really cool amp sim. And yeah, I was kind of excited to get involved with that kind of thing. And, you know, the Waves plugins sound spectacular. There is that. So when they said, hey, you know what, we got a new login system, take a look. I thought, okay, sure, why not? Let's see what they've got to offer. And yeah, I really do dig a lot of the stuff to do it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up right there. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, have a fantastic weekend. Have a safe weekend. I know it's a big party weekend, so stay safe out there. And you guys have a wonderful Halloween. Once again, don't forget to check out this week's shirt. Unfortunately, bass players are people too. All right, I'm out of here. See you guys next time. Till then, hasadigi boy. Hey guys, if you liked the video, be sure to subscribe as I post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. If you want to learn more about recording, check out one of my tutorials or one of my gear reviews if you want the actual honest truth about a piece of equipment.